friends. How you guys doing today?
Awesome!
Thank you guys for coming down today. Give yourselves a big hand of applause. You guys are amazing. I just got one question for you. Do you accept the new normal?
No!
Do you accept the new normal?
No!
Do you ever accept the new normal?
No!
Do you accept your children wearing face masks all day in school?
Never!
Do you want the right to choose what goes in or on your body?
Yes!
My friends, we are the taxpayers. We are the citizens of Canada. We are the boss. These are elected officials. We put them there. They should do their job. Do your job. Do your job. Do your job. My friends, this government consistently uses crises like this against us. Bill 10 was one example of that. Earlier on this year, they put Bill 10 through. What this does, it allows any single politician to create new laws, new offenses without any public oversight, any debate. Is this wrong?
Yes!
Is this government corrupt?
Yes!
Look at Trudeau. Do you stand for Trudeau?
No!
Crime after crime after crime, and he's still there. Is this wrong?
Yes!
Will you listen to Justin Trudeau when he says he's going to lock Canada back down?
No!
Do you want to be locked back down?
No!
Do you want this economy to be destroyed?
No!
Neither do I, my friends. One more time. Let's stand together. No, 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 no.
No new normal! No new normal!
No new normal. When I say silver lining, I only see one. I see humanity around the world awakening into governmental corruption, to abuse of power. It is amazing. Look at Germany. Look at the UK. Billions of people standing together as one. It is beautiful. Let's give them a round of applause. Thousands stand together across Canada. There will be more, my friends. In Canada, we've had it so good, we just do not understand what tyranny looks like. In other countries, they've witnessed tyranny. They've been touched by tyranny recently, so that's why you see millions. But don't worry, my friends. That's why if we stand together peacefully and respectfully, we will be there for when people awaken to the fact that the system has failed them, the fact that the system has used them. They've used their emotions. Look at the media. Do you agree with media using fear against us?
No!
Are you upset with the media using fear against us?
Yes!
Will you awaken your friends and family to what is happening?
Yes!
That's right, that's what we're doing here today. So we're going to have a few speeches today, then after that we're going to peacefully, respectfully do our march once again. And we'll show people solidarity, what unity looks like, my friends. So once again, give yourselves a round of applause. Thank you. I know it's tough to be vulnerable and stand out. You guys are true teachers. It takes a lot of strength to do that, so thank you. Let's give a very warm welcome to the speakers today, and they have a lot of very powerful information for us. So thank you.
All right, internet audience, I need you to share this everywhere. Share it to every page, every group you belong to. Let's get this out to tens of thousands of people. Hit that share button. Thank you.
Yes!
Chris Schaefer! Let's welcome Chris Schaefer to the stage!
Hi, my name is Chris Schaefer, and I am a career health and safety professional. 25 years in the field, basically most of my working career. And I just was invited here to talk a little bit about masks, respirators, on, with the whole recent development and all of this pushing of masks, specifically N95 surgical and non-medical masks, as a protection from a coronavirus that they call COVID. I felt compelled to share the truth. I wanted government to know the truth. I wanted health professionals to know the truth. And so on June 22nd, I wrote a letter to Dr. Hinshaw and 23 other doctors in charge of public health in Alberta, outlining a 4-page letter outlining my concerns with their recommendation that people wear these types of masks as a protection from a virus. So the pamphlet that is being handed out to you right now is really the contents of that letter. if you do have questions, by all means, come to me. I'd be more than happy. I'd like to meet you, and I'd like to talk with you after I'm done here speaking right now. One of the things that we do a lot of training for in my company is we train people to work safely around asbestos. And I don't know how familiar you are with asbestos, but asbestos is a mineral that's mined out of the ground. It was used in many building projects for thousands of years, and in Alberta and Canada up until about 1985. And so with asbestos, it breaks apart into very, very small particles, and when asbestos gets into your body, it can cause disease, and the more asbestos it gets in, obviously the more disease it can cause. So if you look at any building in Edmonton, commercial or residential otherwise, if it was built prior to 1970, it's virtually guaranteed that it does have some of this carcinogenic asbestos in it. Virtually guaranteed. Now that being the case, asbestos is not really harmful in itself. We don't need to, if our house was made before 1970, you don't have to go and be fearful of it, because asbestos is only harmful if it gets into your body. And it's only going to get into your body if it's disturbed. So what we want to understand is that, it doesn't pose a risk to anybody if it's not disturbed, if it's not airborne. Now I want to show you something. This right here is a standard mask for somebody that gets fit tested and wears and works in asbestos abatement. And this mask here is equipped with filters that are a much higher rating than anything that's currently worn for COVID. This mask here has inhalation valves so that air can flow through easily, and you can absorb oxygen from that air, and then when you exhale your carbon dioxide, it has an exhalation valve right here that actually purges that exhaled air outside the mask, so you don't have to worry about accumulations of carbon dioxide in your mask, because that's very dangerous. So this is a type of mask that somebody that removes asbestos would wear as a basic. And if asbestos gets to be a much higher concentration, more friable, as they say, more dusty, then they may have to move up to what firefighters wear, which is a self-contained breathing apparatus. So this is the type of protection from asbestos. Now, asbestos is a small particle. Not only does somebody have to wear a mask like this and be fit tested for it, you can see it covers the eyes, nose, covers the whole face, but also they would have to wear a hood, they have to wear a full disposable coverall, because asbestos, because it's so small, it doesn't just enter through your mouth, your nose, your eyes, your ears. It also enters through the pores of your skin. And so there's no way to protect yourself from asbestos. If you're removing asbestos, you need full containment. You've got to be fully taped up, covered up. Your work area's got to be encapsulated to ensure that none of this asbestos dust gets into the general air environment. It's that hazardous, okay? Now, understand that this is asbestos, full encapsulation suit. Asbestos, when we look at a virus like COVID or any other virus for that matter, viruses are more than 100 times smaller. More than 100 times smaller. So when you look at protection, if you are going to protect yourself from a virus, this won't filter viruses. This is a much higher standard of respirator than what people are currently claiming will, and as a result, this won't filter viruses. So understand that you can't filter viruses. There's nothing on the planet that will filter it. And even if you have an SCBA on, if your body is exposed and your skin is exposed and not in an encapsulated suit, you will be exposed because it will enter through your skin. So if you were going to protect yourself from virus, you would have to be in a fully encapsulated suit 24/7. You wouldn't be able to eat, you wouldn't be able to drink water, you wouldn't be able to use the washroom, because then you'd be exposed, and it would be that dangerous. So there is no protection from a virus for personal protective equipment. There's nothing that's effective, and we don't really have to worry too much, especially for things like coronaviruses and things like that, because the truth is that everybody has viruses in their body. We all do. It's part of our normal biological existence. In fact, we all have viruses from the moment of conception and all the way through the rest of our existence. And so it's a perfectly normal thing. The only time that you can get sick from a virus is if your immune system really starts to break down. And so the response to that is to nurture your immune system, bring it back to health, bring it back to strength. It beats viruses, and viruses can't do anything to you. So that is really the truth. And there's a lot of people that are pretty fearful right now about what's going on and everything else, and are afraid to speak their truth. And I encourage you all to speak your truth, because there's absolutely nothing to fear. A lot of people would fear, like say the ultimate fear would be fear of death. But the truth is that, if we're alive, if we're living, we're also dying. Living and dying are not separate things. They're simultaneous. So from the moment of conception on, as we live, we die. As we live, we get closer to death. And we don't know when that moment will come, but I'll tell you what I've learned to conquer fear. Anytime I might feel a little fearful about speaking up, I always practice a system of instant elimination of any fear. And for me, that system is understanding and appreciating gratitude. So I try to be grateful all the time. I'm able to breathe right now. Every breath that comes in tells me I'm alive, and I celebrate that. Every time I exhale, I don't know if another breath will come to me. I don't know. And I can't guarantee that it will. And I'm not afraid of it, because as Epicurus said 5,000 years ago, he said, if death has come to you, you no longer exist. And if you exist, death has not come to you. So why fear something that can only exist when you do not?
No kidding. Amen.
So in wrapping up this year, I just want the truth, everyone to know the truth, that you can't have PPE from viruses. There's no PPE that does exist that can effectively protect you, but don't worry, everybody has viruses. They're all around us, they're in us, they exist in us. This is not a matter of opinion. This is a scientific fact. If you want to do your research and you go back to your your high school or any type of basic science material, you will see that this is accepted information. And vaccines are just obviously a poison that they put in people to tell people that they're going to get healthy from this. And it obviously doesn't make any sense at all, because if you want to get healthy, you don't give yourself a poison, you give yourself nutrition. Okay. One other thing that I wanted to just say is that what they're doing in the schools right now is very, very wrong and dangerous for children. One thing that they're doing is they're implementing masks across the board. And if you're wearing a mask and that mask is not engineered for inhalation and exhalation, it's not filtering anything, and it becomes difficult to breathe, then it becomes a very real health hazard. And so a mask is not a respirator. They can be completely different. This happens to be a respirator that is a mask, but not all masks are respirators. They're not designed for breathing. They become a form of slow suffocation, slow self-suffocation. And that's all a cover does. If it blocks you, makes it harder to breathe, you know that it's causing oxygen deficiency in your blood. And the longer that goes on, the more dangerous it becomes to your health. It becomes dangerous to your immune system, weakens your immune system, and then the moisture and heat that accumulates on the inside material of the mask, all that does is become the perfect breeding ground for the formation of bacteria and viruses and fungi. And as that bacteria and fungus grows, you then re-inhale that, and that causes disease. So masks can easily cause disease by reducing oxygen, not being engineered for depletion of carbon dioxide, and also masks are dangerous because they get wet, they get moist, they get humid, they stay warm, and that's the breeding for bacteria and fungi. And then people inhale it, they're getting sick from the mask. Rashes, pleurisy in the lung, pneumonia-like symptoms. These are the dangers. So I'll tell you, I'm a health and safety specialist. I'll do anything to protect my health and safety. I'm all for health and safety. And if it can ever be proven that this is, and it can't be in this way, but if it was safe, I would do it. If it was healthy, I would do it. But it's not, and I can't. And I have to tell people the truth, and that's what I'm here for today. So thank you. Thank you for your time.
Truth matters, people.
All right. Next up, we have Karen Dickson. Give her a round of applause.
I don't know about that. Sorry, I have to put my glasses on.
Well, that's bad.
It's an age thing. Well, I'm not going to die of corona, but I might die of not being able to see with my glasses here.
Share this video, people.
Thank you everyone for coming here today again. My name is Karen Dickson. I have a background in education. I'm going to talk to you about what's happening in every nursing home across Canada. Today it is our parents. Tomorrow it may well be yours. In the famous words of Mahatma Gandhi, the true measure of any society can be found in how it treats its most vulnerable members. We are a voice for those desperate to be heard, residents, families, and staff. We have always known that our most vulnerable members of society are at greater risk from any outbreak. Tried and tested protocols were already in place in nursing homes for outbreaks. But we have all been told that they weren't enough. We were told extreme measures would need to be put in place to protect our elderly from this particular virus. In reality though, COVID-19 has proved to be no more deadly than seasonal flu. Even in our elderly population. Information about proven treatment for COVID-19 is also being withheld. And in care homes, there is a far greater and unreported tragedy. The COVID-19 restrictions in force in care homes have been far more lethal than this virus. Families are being denied access to their loved ones. Doctors are being denied access to their patients. Our elderly are being denied access to required medical care. The loss because of this is catastrophic. Why has the government failed and is continuing to fail those in care? Why has living been reduced to mere existence for those in care? How on earth did protection for our loved ones become prison? If we can address what's happening in care facilities, I believe we can resolve this entire viral crisis. It's time to speak to the elephant in the room. So I'm going to use the F word. Don't panic, I know there's children in the audience. I'll save that one for the COVID inquiry when this is all over. But let's talk about what the F word actually is for 2020. The F word is fear. Fear is what's paralyzing our professionals from speaking out. That is a fact. David and I have heard from many of them in confidence. But guys, ladies and gentlemen, we're out of time for fight or flight. The fight to truly save those in care is long overdue. Thousands of healthcare professionals across the world are finally going public with the truth. But only a handful have done so here in Canada. This week in Ottawa, MPP Randy Hillier spoke out to address just this point. He asked the question as to why Canadian health professionals are not coming out to defend us, when across the globe others are speaking out. Here is that four-letter word again. Fear. Fear that if they speak out, it may result in an investigation by their regulatory board and their license may be threatened. It is the same fear we are hearing from staff in care homes who know that what is happening is wrong. That same fear is silencing teachers, even though they know what is happening to our children is wrong. But the time for silence is over. Remember, we will all be held to account for our actions and our inaction when this is over. We know that there is a crisis of conscience for the best in our healthcare system right now. That's better, now I've put my glasses on properly. But we ask every professional, every health professional in Canada to reflect on the guiding principles of your profession. In essence, you are asked above all to care for your patients, to promote their health and alleviate their suffering, and to inform your patients correctly, even under pressure. And for pressure, I'm going to bring back that word again, fear. You pledge you will not use any medical knowledge for practices that are against the best interests of humanity. Health professionals have collectively spoken out across the world against what is happening in Germany, the US, the globe. Your peers in Belgium, thank you, someone's just reminded me, have openly stated that the current government measures are forcing them to act against their Hippocratic oath. That is a terrifying reality. We understand that residents and families are also terrified to come forward for fear of repercussions. But many families are now taking to social media with graphic videos and photographs of their loved ones' physical and mental deterioration. One lady in care has begged her daughter for euthanasia rather than live life in endless isolation. What we are about to tell you next comes from first-hand experience. Those in care are actually calling out in desperation, help me, please, and I am in fear. These pleas are now frighteningly commonplace. As family members, we have actually been instructed by senior management not to communicate with other residents or families. Why is all communication and avenues of support being actively discouraged? This has never happened before. David and I promise you all, here and now, we have not and will never ignore a cry for help. It is why we are here today. I'd like to introduce a dear friend who I met at the beginning of this crisis. Her name is Mary, and she has a story to tell. Thank you, everyone, and thanks, Karen, for inviting me to share my dad's story today. Unlike Karen, I am not a public speaker, so I'll forewarn you about that. The reason I am so glad to be here is it's the most tangible way that I can continue my dad's legacy. To be honest, it's pretty much too late for him. He won't be with us much longer, but he's suffered a great deal, and his suffering was almost entirely preventable. My dad is the most intelligent person I've ever known in my life. I was one of those little girls, like many little girls, who think, one day I'm going to marry Daddy. His intelligence is only exceeded by his warmth, his compassion, and his lifelong pursuit of the truth. On June 22nd, my mom and I kissed my dad goodbye in a foyer of one of Edmonton's nursing homes. We watched him walk through the main doors, which we of course could not, and it took 8 days and many phone calls, begging, pleading, crying, before my mom was allowed to see him. She was granted one 30-minute visit. From the time my dad entered the center, and he has, well, at that time, advanced dementia. It is now end stage. My dad entered this facility. He had no idea where he was, why he was there. And from that moment on, every single person who interacted with him was gowned, masked, and gloved. Everyone who came into the room stood as far away from him as possible, unless they actually had to perform a procedure which required them to get close. Day after day, all my dad saw were eyes. A face that has only eyes. He became very frightened, and those non-touch thermometers that look like guns, when he would have his temperature taken, because at that time we didn't know the most accurate way is to place it on a wrist, he would flinch. He didn't know who this person was who was coming at his face with something that resembled a gun. Sorry.
You're doing great.
89 days have now passed, and the man that I will be seeing in about an hour no longer resembles my dad. My dad actually used to run marathons and won often. He is now this frail little old man, slumped over to one side in a wheelchair because of a spinal condition, unable to move or, adjust himself in any way. He's been in this wheelchair since the afternoon he arrived. My dad walked into that facility that afternoon after an unwitnessed fall when he was in isolation and supposed to have a nurse in the room at all times. They placed him in a wheelchair for his own safety. But Mom and I weren't happy. We reluctantly agreed, because if we didn't, it would sound like we didn't want him to be safe. So we said, okay, but tomorrow we want that wheelchair taken away. 89 days later, it has never been taken away. They have not used the walker my mom brought in. They have not tried in any way to get this former marathon runner to walk. We have spoken to every single healthcare provider who has been in contact with him. We've spoken to unit managers. We've done everything that we can. In the morning, each and every morning, they change him, and then they use a hydraulic lift to move him from the bed to the wheelchair, where he spends 8 hours a day.
Probably only contact you with the goddess if they would not be lazy and lifted him properly.
Right after supper, they again use the hydraulic lift to take him from the wheelchair to the bed, where he is changed for the second time that day. These rules and regulations do not make sense. I have worked within the healthcare system for 18 years. Mind, it was a much happier side. It was labor and delivery. I've always said I will follow any rule that makes sense. When it stops making sense, I stop following it.
Amen!
My dad is now running his final marathon. We're with him. He's not going to run it alone. And I do this, I'm here today for him and for every single person who has someone they love in a care home. I was informed yesterday that the two very, actually huge pressure wounds on my dad's foot, which have been essentially untreated, are now infected. You know, I have accepted the fact that my dad's brain is dying And I don't have a choice. It no longer properly maintains his temperature, informs him of when he's hungry, or even now, recently, he's unable to use a straw. You know that sucking reflex that little babies are born with? His has died. I have no choice over that. But I do have a choice in his care and his treatment. And you have a choice in your loved one's care and treatment.
You can start listening to that. 100%. Choose your own treatment if nobody wants to listen to you. Before you get to that point, you were right. Everything, can I have you?
Everybody's got COVID symptoms. $1,200 fine.
If a single word that I have said to you today resonates in any small way, I implore you to act. Act now, today, this minute. If you have someone in a care home, go and see them. Check up on them. Ask to read the chart. Make sure that you know what is going on, and even more so, that you have agreed to it. We have not received a single phone call in 3 months informing us of anything. In fact, one day I went to the nursing home for one of their outside visits, and my dad didn't show up. And I asked a staff member where my dad was, and he said, oh, he's going to be late. He's having an x-ray. And I said, an x-ray of what? I was worried that perhaps he'd fallen. And the staff member said, I don't know. I'll go find out. 15 minutes later, he came back and said, of his lungs. And I said, well, is something wrong? Like, now I'm thinking pneumonia. And the man said, no, you're having a meeting with the doctor on Tuesday. It's just routine. No, chest x-rays are not routine. You can get away with basic blood tests and maybe a urinalysis. That's routine. Chest x-rays are not. So when I finally got to the bottom of it, they were doing it just to be sure. Like they have COVID tested him 3 times. Despite our express wishes that he not be tested, that if he became symptomatic, you are to call me. And I will tell you if you are allowed to test him. On June 22nd, my dad became the property of Alberta Health Services.
Disgusting.
He was no longer ours. He was theirs. We felt that in a very real sense, and we feel it today. And I am determined, because there's relatively little left that I can do for him. But but in his honor, in pursuit of the truth. When the death certificate is filled out and they ask for cause of death, I will be writing on it COVID-19 policies. Thank you.
Thank you.
This lady here didn't actually say the word. She wanted everybody to feel it, and the word is love. Because that's what it's all about. I feel every one of you here, and I have a hard time listening to these stories because I see the bullshit in it. Like, we don't need adult children being greedy. None of us here are greedy. Any one of you standing here, guarantee you would give the shirt off your back. I would give up my life for this second right now, for all this to end, and you guys to be happy and have peace and love. Because I've been the loneliest, most traumatized person I know in my life, but I wouldn't want any of your traumas. I have my own. But I don't have to feel traumatized anymore, and I will not let them traumatize me either.
Enough is enough!
It's over. This love that is spread here, it creates such a ripple like you people have. A great idea. We need everybody else to wake up. And they're scared, but there's nothing to be scared of. They have no control. We're giving it to them.
You got it.
Thank you for COVID. I was on welfare, medical disability after getting out of treatment. I got out in January, so I'm a year and 9 months sober. I was a freight train in my addiction. I'm a fucking tsunami now, and we're taking them out. Like, join the love movement or get out of the way. You can't help and not get swept up by it. These poor kids right now, I grew up with fears that were ridiculous. Because we have no fear as a child, but then parents, I love y'all. Oh, be careful. No. When I see a kid fall down and get back up, it's the most beautiful thing if nobody helps them. I love my mother, but she helped me too much. She sheltered me from things I needed to go through. They don't need to go through this because the fear they're going to have by the time we're our age, unbelievable. And the system that they're in, this is what's happening. I'm here for all of you, and we're going to create a system within the system because this one's broke. And when we take over, there'll be no excuse. They can't not see that it works. Trillions of dollars they spend, my taxpayers, your taxpayers, everybody's money, that for what? For what? To keep you in a state of fear? Who, I ask, are you afraid of? You know who I'm afraid of? One person. One person, one thing on this whole planet. Me. Because as much as I love it, I could make it, destroy it too. But why would you want to do that to such a beautiful thing that has all the opportunity in the world? Humanity, I have a harbinger sent here to wake you up. The message is help each other or we're done. Yes. We're done. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
I honestly don't actually know how to carry on after that, but just bear with me. Thank you to Mary and that wonderful gentleman who decided just right off his own bat to come and speak. We need more people who just do that, who decide to just take the initiative and speak. My mom is also in a nursing home. 10 years ago, a stroke left her wheelchair bound and unable to talk more than odd words. With the love and support of family and an incredible care team, all working hand in hand, My mum was literally brought back from the brink of death. But the COVID protocols have impacted even my mum, and she was in the best of health. Her daily support has been reduced to the minimum required for existence. We're only allowed to visit her when we're at the centre in her room. You may not know, but 70% of comprehension is from non-verbal cues, from facial expressions, tone and music of voice. My mum lip reads and interprets much of what is said to her from facial expressions. She's hard of hearing, in addition to the brain damage caused by her stroke. Everyone she meets, as Mary was saying, and Chris has talked about so eloquently and accurately, is now masked. So she struggles all day to understand what anyone's saying to her. My mom has been denied all human connection, physical and emotional, due to the extreme COVID protocols. A stroke deprived her of the ability to speak to others, but the mandatory mask rule has deprived her of the ability to understand others. This is the ultimate in isolation. Since March, there have been 3 lockdowns of the whole centre, with extra time added on. The last 2 lockdowns were related to 7 staff and voluntary asymptomatic testing. This has meant weeks where our access has been limited or denied. Parents, I'm speaking to you across the world. Remember this for schools. Testing equals cases equals lockdowns. Lockdowns over and over again. Testing has one purpose. It is to lock you and others down. When an outbreak is called in a care centre, staff, as Mary pointed out, are forced to work for weeks in full PPE, masks, plastic visors, goggles and gowns. They struggle to safely care for the residents. I had one staff member tell me that the visor that she wears is so restrictive that when she bends over to help move residents, the glare from the sun obscures her vision. It actually risks her ability to do her job safely and effectively. The staff are struggling to care for the residents. This PPE is cumbersome. It's hot to wear all day. The glasses steam up. And as I said, the visors create glare. The staff are physically and emotionally exhausted from working in these intense conditions. The residents, as Mary pointed out, are bewildered and fearful of staff they no longer recognise. My mum has missed medical and personal appointments in and out of the centre because of these lockdowns. One of them was for a cancerous growth on her finger. Alone, she is left to try and rationalise this insanity. We have fought for her and all the residents to be able to have quality of life with all due respect to the risk posed by this virus. I've actually had residents approach me and tell me that they will protest themselves if that's what it takes for them to be heard. Health professionals have told me they believe the measures are totally unnecessary and are resulting in physical and psychological harm to those in their care. We, along with other families, have taken our concerns to the care managers the senior management, to Alberta Health Services, to Janice Harrington, patient advocate for Alberta, to Dina Hinshaw, to Tyler Shandro, and to over 400 politicians across Canada. Media, who I notice yet again are absent today, have ignored our requests for an interview. There have been endless excuses and finger-pointing all the way up the AHS chain of command. We're just following orders, has been the refrain. Last month, Dina Hinshaw finally modified her orders for those in care. However, it is still not nearly enough to restore full care and provide the support so desperately needed for our most vulnerable community. My mum might not be able to speak for herself, but this family and Mary are not going away quietly. We end with a special mention to a lady called EJ. As we speak, EJ is in hospital, fighting to heal her infection. Her daughter can't be with us. She asked me to say these words. She is at the hospital trying to feed her mum. So what can you do to protect a family member in care? To make any sense of this madness, my first suggestion was to go and order wine or beer by the crate. But let's start with Dina Hinshaw's orders, 29/2020 and 32/2020. Read those orders. Take out of them what applies to your loved one. Then see how the care homes are actually applying those orders. You'll find that many of these care homes are erring on the side of caution, or should I say extreme. Use that to your advantage. Call out the centres for their overzealous approach. Argue your loved one's special needs. Insist on access, even in an outbreak. If you demand a welfare check, this has to be accommodated. Visit, as Mary said, as often as you can. Take your loved ones off-site, even for short visits. Keep written notes and take photographs of any concerns you have. Demand a doctor attend in person, never mind virtual visits. Hello, when have we ever had virtual visiting by our doctors? Demand a doctor attend in person if needed. Worst case, as has happened this week, call an ambulance yourself if you feel the need is urgent. Follow the rules, but question everything that doesn't make sense. Do, though, take the time to thank and support the many frontline staff. Remember, most are doing their absolute best in the worst of circumstances. I've known many of these people for 10 years that have looked after my mum. I consider them my friends. We're all actually on the same page. Connect with other families and groups on social media for support. Remember, if you are power of attorney, responsible for a medical directive, you make decisions on care. Also, informed consent means you have to be notified of and understand any medical procedures involving your loved one. Question everything you are being asked to consent to, including any testing, vaccines, or medical changes. Like everything COVID, please do your research. Your loved one's life, your children's life, may just depend on it. We're all facing choices today which will ultimately change the course of history. 2020 is the year that will define us all. We must stand against measures imposed on our society that we know in our heads and our hearts are wrong. I have to tell you that what saddens me the most is the fear I see in the eyes of our elderly. We all have a duty to our fellow human beings to speak out against injustice. In the words of one of the most peaceful men of all time, Mahatma Gandhi again, the enemy is fear. We think it is hate, but it is fear. Be truthful, gentle, and fearless. We're on Facebook under David Karen Dickson until Mark Zuckerberg decides we've spoken the truth once too often. I'll post the transcript of this speech on our Facebook page if anyone wants to access it or to contact us directly. Please note that unlike the government, everybody talking here today really is here to help.
Ron, you want to say a couple words? Well, just your story is good.
Thanks. Hi everyone, my name is Ron. I've been with this group since Canada Day. I am an AHS employee. I work at the Stollery Children's Hospital as a cardiology technologist. So I'll just tell you what I've seen since January as we saw this epidemic coming slow motion. No sign of community spread. Everything was fine and normal in the clinic until the mask edict came down. Oh, can you hear me okay?
Oh, yeah.
Was that first? Okay, yeah. So once the mask edict came down, we had a lot of crappy masks that were provided by a company called Vanch. They were in a blue box. All staff that opened them, what a smell. Put them on their face. Many people were irritated. I developed a cough instantly, rash.
COVID symptoms.
Yeah, COVID symptoms. Actually, I did have to leave work until I got tested for COVID because these are all symptoms. So that happened. And my management has been pretty accommodating, and we did find our usual masks are made by a company called Primed, but they're looking very similar to the Vanch masks now, so I'm not sure what factory they're coming out of. And that settled things for a little while, but since then now I've developed sleep apnea quite severely, drive my wife crazy snoring at night. So I'm fighting this on my own end. But aside from all of this masking issue and AHS staff suffering, what I've noticed, and this is the part where I kind of draw my line, is that I work with children and they're vulnerable. They have heart conditions. And when I see a child come into a clinic with a heart condition, with some sort of adult mask fashioned around their face to protect them from a virus that it's horrifying. It tears your soul apart. And then I do procedures on children. They're usually supine. I'm wearing a mask. My whole skill set isn't doing the test on the kid. It's being able to be animated, smile, speak to the child, put them at a sense of comfort to do the test. Impossible under these conditions. Children are already terrified of wearing a mask. You're a stranger, and a mask, that's a threat. That is a threat. Anybody who would see someone in a mask, that's perceived as a threat. So we've allowed it to go so far with our children. We just take these things for granted. Oh yeah, kids got to wear a mask. No, they don't. What they tried spreading the fear about children being super spreaders of this disease. Therefore, we have to be extra afraid of children. Like it's going to spiral. It's going to get worse and worse and worse. And eventually, it'll be how we deal with our children. If we are not people that believe our children should be in a state of fear, wearing their masks, maintaining 6 feet from their friends, at what point are we not viable parents? These are things that concern me more. But regardless, once all of the smoke clears and the fight happens with AHS, because I know a lot of staff are having issues. There are numerous complaints with workplace health and safety. There are things happening. I'd like to get some sort of class action thing going with a few brave healthcare providers. I would. I know people, so many people are, well, I need my paycheck, or I just got to do my job. Oh no, it's okay. I have a headache every day. Oh, I'm fighting with my spouse. Oh, I have no energy to play with my kids. This is an issue. This is something that should be brought up as a occupational health issue. But people don't. We do our jobs. My job's probably over now, but I got my dignity.
Freedom! Freedom! Freedom!
Thanks for your bravery.
Freedom! Freedom!
It takes a big man to stand up and say he works as part of the system and tell you the truth. Give this man a round of applause.
Okay, my name is Wanda. I'm not a public speaker, but when watching people sit around outside their home with the mask on, or walk across the street and nobody's around with the mask on, I'm constantly thinking, what would motivate them to do that? And then I realize nobody knows what airborne means. They think airborne is everywhere in the air, like an airplane is airborne. A baseball, when you throw it, is airborne. Aerosol will be airborne till it falls down. Even spit is airborne. But really, people, airborne is not everywhere, because then if this were a real virus, we'd all be sick and probably dead. But we're not. Now we do know now CDC has changed its mind and said that this virus is not airborne. They just said it. And now we're not doing trolling for numbers, no more asymptomatic testing. And now, if you are asymptomatic and you go, you're not contagious. Because Premier Kenney was around someone who was asymptomatic, and Hinshaw said, well, you don't have to self-isolate when you're around someone who's asymptomatic. So that means they can't give you anything because they probably don't have anything. You know, so... Yeah, so it goes on and on and on. Oh yes, and now in BC, not in Alberta, in BC, children can actually sneeze and cough, and they don't have to isolate, and they don't have to leave. So I don't know when that's going to happen in Alberta, but if they can do it in BC, I don't know why else, you know, they can't. And I guess that's about all I wanted to say is that please, I walk around asking people, do you know what airborne means? And a lot of them just look at me, and because they don't. So maybe we could tell them when you're, like there's some people over there wearing masks outside, just reassure them it's not everywhere, it's actually nowhere. So there you go.
Ben, and in March, when I heard about the virus, I left Edmonton as fast as I could, and I left for high-level Alberta. I just found an Airbnb, and I said to my wife, we gotta hide from this thing, man, 100 million people dead. And so when I went up there, my wife got mad that I brought in these boxes from Amazon and didn't sanitize it. She also got mad that I went to A&W and I ordered burgers because I love burgers. And she's like, you're putting us in danger because this is too risky, like 100 million dead, like we could be next. So then in April, I found out that Trudeau, he said, Black Lives Matter, bent the knee with no mask. And I said, what the hell is this? What the hell, why are you out there traveling and why can't I travel? You're telling me to stay home. So what I did is I said to my wife, let's start traveling. So the first place we did is we went to southern BC, we went to Crow's Nest Pass, then we went to Nelson, then we went to Vancouver, and then we went to Vancouver Island and spent a week there, and then we took a boat up to Prince George, and then we went all the way up to Stewart, BC, which is on the border of Alaska. And then I found out my grandma passed away at 95 years old. And she passed because of the COVID restrictions. Because as an old lady, you know, people don't come and feed her. She doesn't know what the hell's going on. So she stopped eating, and then she died. And so I'm like, I said to my mom in Toronto, I said, can I come for the funeral? And my mom's like, no, you're from Alberta. You need to stay out west. And I said, listen, Mom and family, it's my grandma, man. You gotta let me come. So they let me come, but they said, you gotta stay away from us, blah, 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 blah. So I did go to the funeral, but then when I said to my wife, I said, you know, why don't we go traveling international? Let's do the big taboo. So we flew to Azores, Portugal, which is these little islands, and we did this in early July. They just opened up to Canadians. And so I went in there and we did a virus test on arrival, but we flew all over the Azores Islands. There's a whole bunch of islands there. And then we said, you know what? Why don't we try to make our way up to Iceland? Because we want to do a little more travel. So then we flew to Lisbon, spent a few days in Lisbon, and then we flew all the way to London, England. And in London, England, they said you got to quarantine, right? But it's kind of a joke. You just fill out a paperwork. They don't call you or anything like that. So then we're in London, England, and we're trying to get to Iceland, but Iceland had this rule for Canadians trying to get up there that you can't take a connecting flight, you have to take a direct flight. So British Airways is like, no, you can't go to Iceland. And I was like, oh shit, well, what are we gonna do? Just go home? No, we're gonna keep going. So I went up to Glasgow, Scotland. And then we rented a car and drove the Highlands. And then we went back to Glasgow and we flew to Belfast, Ireland. And then from Belfast, we said, you know what, we're gonna sneak into Ireland. Because Ireland, the Southern Ireland, it's the full country. And if it's part of the Common Travel Agreement where the Northern Ireland and regular Ireland, they don't check your passport. So we just took the train to Dublin, which is the Southern Ireland. Spent a few days there. And then we said, look, why don't we try to get back into Iceland? But I got an idea. We're gonna go through Germany because it's part of the Schengen zone, right? So we flew to Frankfurt, Germany. And then from Frankfurt, Germany, we booked a flight with Lufthansa, and we flew up to Iceland. So once we got up to Iceland, we rented a car, drove the whole damn island, and said, oh, we're tired, let's just go back. So we flew back to London, then we flew back to Toronto, and we came back. And then we did a 14-day quarantine. And then after the 14 days, I was like, you know what? We're not done yet, man. Like, just get started. So then I saw, okay, we're gonna go to Alaska. We're gonna go to Alaska, but that's the USA. That's like the virus capital, man. I don't know. So I told my wife, you know, like, look, we've already been on like 20 flights. What's another few more? So she agreed, and we flew from Edmonton to Vancouver, Vancouver to Seattle. And yes, you can fly to the US. You can get into the US through the plane, and they let us through, no problem. So we went to Seattle. And then we flew from Seattle up to Alaska. And we were in Alaska, some of the Americans I talked to, they said, why is it that we can, you know, Canadians can go up there, but Americans can't go down there? And my answer was a lot of virus-phobic dudes in Canada, and they're batshit crazy. And so then, you know, I had fun in Alaska, did the whole Denali trip, and a whole bunch of pictures and stuff, and then we flew back to Seattle, and then from Seattle we flew back to Vancouver, and you know, and that's it. So now we're thinking of maybe going to Finland if the ski hills start shutting down this winter. I don't know how many people ski here, but if you ski, come talk to me. But anyway, if you the skiing thing is, if you're gonna screw up the ski hills and shut those down, that's okay. We're just going to go to Sweden and Finland and ski there with no mask on, because I'm not wearing a mask skiing.
Amen!
So, yeah, so that's all I had to say. If anyone wants to learn more about travel, I guess, come talk to me. Thank you.
You want to go, Dave?
Yeah. Will you grab that, because last time she missed everything.
Sure.
There's the button.
Okay.
Just switch it on whenever.
David Dickson!
Hello everybody. This is not my third time. Second time speaking. I was talking again yesterday. I don't know how many people do know I'm a retired police officer from the UK. I spoke last time calling out my colleagues, everybody in uniform, who actually right now should know better. If you don't know better, take the uniform off and go home. And if you do know better, why aren't you following your oath and doing your job? I've investigated a lot of crimes in my life. I've investigated crimes since I retired from the police. And I have to say, this COVID crime that we're all experiencing right now is just about the easiest crime I've ever seen to investigate. I've never ever seen a situation where the criminals put all the evidence in front of everybody daily on the screen and talk about it.
No kidding.
What we need to do is go back to, everybody is doing right now what I call chasing the ball. We're talking about what's happening today. We're talking about what happened yesterday. But to really understand what's going on here, every single police officer out there, and I'm calling on every single chief of police and every single senior police officer to actually take a look at how this all started. Let's just go back to, in Alberta, March, and actually look at how did this all start. It started with a panic, and somebody, an unelected official, came out of their office and said, everybody panic. Anybody over 250 in a group, you have to go away, and you go home. Let's shut down West Edmonton Mall, car dealerships, businesses all over the province. And Kenny, if you don't think that's a lockdown, then you need to get some help. All the care homes were shut. The first lockdown my wife talked about wasn't actually caused by any infections, wasn't caused by any outbreaks. It was just a matter of fact of, from this point on, until we tell you otherwise, you will not leave the centre. You will not see people. You will look at people through smoke glass windows, if you are lucky. And that happened for 2.5 months. If that's not a crime, then I should never have been in the police. All of this was caused by our wonderful cases, and everything you see today is caused by these wonderful cases. Let's not get into the efficacy of what an actual case is, but let's use the numbers. If I was prosecuting a crime, I'd look at the evidence I have in front of me every single day. We can dig into whether these cases are real and how much that efficacy is, but let's just use the numbers that Alberta Health and Canada Health publishes every single day. So on the day that Dina Hinshaw decided that we should lock down the province, was the 12th of March. On that day, we count cases across the world in cases per 100,000 people, because otherwise the numbers get too big. So for the typical flu season, we have cases in between 179 and 215 cases per 100,000. Now that's using lab-tested, hospitalised influenza patients using a test that's been around for decades. It's a gold standard test. So the reality is those numbers are underestimated, not overestimated. So 179 to 215 flu cases, never called emergency, never has a medical officer come out of their office and said everybody needs to panic. On the day that we actually locked down this province, we had 0.4 cases of COVID. 0.4. On the strength of that, and the panic for what was coming, we had talk of hydroxychloroquine. Yes, I used the H word. And I'm going to use it because in Alberta, you may not know, but we actually very early on decided we needed to find out whether this drug would work. We still don't know in this province whether it would work. We can know. All we have to do is actually go and look at all the studies that go back decades for any influenza-like illness. But let's just talk about the study we have in Alberta. And ironically, that study was called the the Alberta Hope Study out of the University of Calgary. I won't go into the details of how poorly that study was set up. It was almost designed for people to die. But let's talk about what we did with that study. So the 1st of April, obviously picked for the day itself, because it was an April Fool. We decided that we would start a study on hydroxychloroquine. So we could decide whether we had a treatment, so we wouldn't need vaccines, we wouldn't need lockdowns, we could actually treat people and save lives. That study was supposed to go on. It was cancelled, actually it was put on hold, on the 22nd of May. Now from the 1st of April to the 22nd of May, we didn't really get anywhere. There were a couple of updates on the site. They were recruiting people. But on the 22nd of May, The Lancet pulled out a classic example of the worst research I've ever seen in my life. So much so that The Lancet, for almost the first time in its history, had to retract that study. They retracted that study on the 4th of June. Now, on the 4th of June, if you went on the Alberta website for the Hope study, you would see that they were still recruiting and still working on the study. On the 22nd of May, they were still working and running that study. On the 4th of June, when the study was retracted, they were still working on and recruiting for the study. On the 17th of June, 13 days after the study was retracted, they actually published that the study was being put on hold because the Hope study was being put on hold because it had been cancelled because of the Lancet study. So 13 days after the Lancet study had been retracted, we called a cancellation to Hope. How does that make any sense? Then on the 27th of July, I called out, and many people called out, Dana Hinshaw and others, and said we literally have no hope in Alberta. The study is on hold based on an article that has been retracted for 2 months. Why do we not have any study on this drug so we can get on with our lives? 3 days after that, they updated that website and said, no, now we're putting this study on hold because we don't have enough cases. Hang on a minute, if we don't have enough cases, why are we all stuck in our houses? If you go on the website today and look up the Alberta Hope study, it will tell you that it was initially put on hold on the 22nd of May, and then on the 17th of June it was updated because we don't have enough cases. So let's get back to cases again using Alberta Health's and Canada Health's own numbers. So the day that the study was started on the 1st of April, we had 13 cases per 100,000 in the province. Very small amount, but obviously enough for them to start a study. On the 22nd of May, when they decided to halt the study from the Lancet journal, we had 18 cases per 100,000. So again, they're growing a bit, but we had a different reason to stop it. On the 17th of June, when they put a halt to the Hope in Alberta, because we didn't have enough cases, we had 31 cases per 100,000, more than 2 times the amount of cases that were good enough to start the study. But now they're not good enough to continue the study. Our cases per 100,000 have averaged since we started this at 21. Since the 17th of June, our cases per 100,000 haven't dropped below 23. So why can we start a study for a drug that may save everybody's life with 13 cases per 100,000, but at 31 we can't? So again, I speak out to all my colleagues around the world. This is not a unique story in Alberta. It's happening everywhere, and it's happened everywhere. If I was still serving, I'd be arresting people right now. And I'd be arresting people for the protection of the people of Alberta. I'd be arresting these people for the protection of everybody in the world. If you don't do something soon, then you are in neglect of your duty. Your sworn duty to protect the citizens that you are serving every single day, instead of turning a blind eye and sullying the uniform that you're supposed to be wearing. if you don't do something soon, then for God's sake, take the uniform off and have some respect, for Christ's sake. This is a crime that has all the evidence in open sight. It is the crime that is the easiest to investigate. I've been investigating it since December. Most of my research is up online, and it's all backed by facts that the government themselves have put out. We don't need to go interviewing people, trying to find facts. It's all there in plain sight. So again, one last time. And you know what? If the police and the sheriffs and the rest of law enforcement and Alberta Justice sitting across there in your little ivory tower, where I've sat many, many occasions and discussed things about this province and how justice should be done. It's time prosecutors got off their backside. It is time the police got off their backside. And if you don't, then guess what? At some point, the people will. It is time for you to do your job.
What's Brenda Lucky doing right now?
Last time I came up here, it was really, I got on a bit of a rant, but I was only up here to answer some questions. So I suppose, has anybody got any questions?
What's going to happen now? What are we going to do?
Okay, so the
Action time! Action time! Action time! Action time! Action time! Action time!
We gotta stop preaching to the converted, and we need to start preaching to the people that are not paying attention.
Okay, so somebody just asked something that, ironically, I just wrote an article on. Winter is coming. What happens in winter? We all get flu. You've heard me talk about at the beginning of this, the flu cases per 100,000. That's based on people who are sick enough to go to hospital. Anybody who's got children in school right now will have heard of some child who's had a cough or a sniffle, which under normal circumstances nobody would have thought twice about. But today it is nothing other than COVID, because nothing else exists other than COVID. I've just been asked, what do we do now? You know, how can they continue this without their asymptomatic testing? Because they won't have the numbers. Guess what? They're going to have the numbers, and they're going to have really big numbers soon. Imagine going through last flu season before COVID existed, and every single person you knew, think back to November and December last year, how many people you knew who were sick with something. Now imagine if every single one of those people was diagnosed as having COVID, because right now that's what's going to happen. They don't need to test anyone. They don't need asymptomatic tests anymore. And that's why we've stopped them as we move into flu season. There is no other reason for it. It is not because they've decided they don't need to test anyone. And actually, if they didn't need to test anyone and there was no asymptomatic spread, then everybody's been unlawfully imprisoned for the last 6 months. And somebody needs to be held account. But right now, everybody needs to be aware that we are about to move into flu season. And they are going to, Dina Hinshaw is going to come on the television at one point in the next few months and tell you that 50,000 people got COVID over the weekend and that 500 people died of COVID over the weekend. Even if this virus didn't exist, she will be able to tell you that because of the protocols we have in place. COVID could never have existed on this planet, and I'm not saying it didn't, and I'm not saying it doesn't. I'm just saying the way we have the protocols and the way they've set things up, everything is COVID. Whether you have a sniffly nose, if in Alberta, if you're in a care home and you get sad, if you have a change in mental state, you have COVID. That is a defined symptom of COVID for somebody in a care home. Now, you've listened to all these stories today of people in care homes. You've listened to the horror stories. As a police officer, I've kicked down doors and dragged people out of buildings for doing less than is happening to these people. I've charged people for doing less than is happening to these people. And just following orders doesn't stand anymore. It didn't stand at the Nuremberg trials. There's a reason it's called the Nuremberg defense. It didn't stand then and it won't stand now. But again, so I've said before, and I'll say it again, there's a lot of people that are being silent, from police officers and sheriffs to doctors and nurses, healthcare workers throughout the world, to just basic professionals. We're all sitting there, to our preppers who are getting ready and waiting for the right time. Well, I don't know what you're waiting for, because the right time was March. How many people have got to die of unavoidable deaths? How many people have got to have their livelihoods ruined before you get off your backside and do something? Are you waiting for a revolution? Because if you are no better than the people over there. If what you're looking for is a revolution and bloodshed, then you're doing their work for them.
Yep.
If you want to put a stop to this and save lives, now is the time to stand up. Because if not now, when?
Amen.
It is time to be silent no more. Because silence is going to get you nothing. And eventually, as the poem says, eventually they're going to come for you. You as a doctor, a physician, a nurse, a police officer might think you're safe today. But at some point, you're not going to be useful anymore. And at that point, who's going to be left to speak out for you? Right now, we're speaking out for the elderly. We're speaking out for the children. But the reality is, we're speaking out for humanity. Because eventually, they will come for you. You will become redundant.
In a pandemic, the major concern is what to do with all the dead bodies. Where are they? Is there any dead bodies? Do you see it on the headlines? What are we going to do? Grave diggers work overtime during a pandemic. Any concern of that? No, because this is a pandemic. Big difference.
So just talking to his point, again, using their own evidence. Again, I hope somebody's listening there over in the prosecutor's office, because you don't even have to go collect the file. It's on your own servers. So in Canada, probably people don't realize that this virus has been circulating the globe, provable, circulating the globe based on blood tests, since mid-November at the latest. So for 5 months before we locked down in Canada and implemented masks didn't start on April 1st in Edmonton. Masks have been around since the start of this, people panicking and having to wear masks. But basically since the start of the virus circulating the globe, this highly infectious virus that's going to kill us all, and mid-March, the 23rd of March, when we pretty much shut down society, in Canada there were 8 reported deaths with COVID, not from COVID, with COVID. 8. In the next 5 months, while we did everything we possibly could to stop the spread of this virus, bearing in mind we've done nothing for the first 5 months, in the next 5 months we had 9,500 reported deaths. So if all their numbers are right, if all their expectations are right, if all their cases and deaths are right, then they killed 9,500 people with the actions they took. And what are we doing about that? We double down every single day. We make it worse every single day. You know what? If the best that these people, Tam, Hinshaw, Bonnie Henry, all of these people across the provinces and across the country, if the best you could do was from the first 5 months take us from 8 to the second 5 months take us to 9,500, it's time for you to step down. It's time for you to sit in a cell for a while and be isolated for all our safety. Because while you are out and about in the public and talking and making decisions, we are all unsafe. So, sorry.
Woo! Thank you, David.
I just wanted to tell you something that if anyone, and I know everyone here understands and believes and realizes what a travesty this is in so many ways. My dad was in a room by himself up until 4 days ago. Then they transferred a gentleman in who'd had an accident at work. So the gentleman was supposed to be placed in isolation. That's their protocols. So naturally, following them, they put him in my dad's room. So I'm thinking that we've coined a new term, isolation. When I spoke to them about it, I mean, if you make the rules, then shouldn't you be following them? I was told, oh, it's okay because the nurses, we gown and mask and everything, and then we take it off before we see your dad. Of course, I'm not the least bit concerned about this gentleman giving my dad anything, but you know, obviously you don't believe in the rules because you're not following them. When I went up the other night, I was pleasantly surprised to find my dad in a wheelchair sitting beside this man watching TV. Now, staff had been in and out of that room. Well, what if this man had this deadly virus? He was going to infect my dad. It's lunacy. They don't follow the rules a lot of the time because they don't believe them.
Okay, guys, I got one question for you. Do you accept the new normal? No! Ryder, do you accept the new normal? No! Do you want your children to wear face masks all day in school? No! Neither do I, my friends. Does everyone want to have a nice lunch? Yeah! All right, let's get out there and let's show everybody. Okay, we're going to head straight down that way like before. It'll be great, guys.
Say hi to the people. Actually, here, you want to hold it for a sec? Sure. Just grab it. Say hi to him. It's
Hey, buddy, how are you doing? How are you doing, everybody? Thank you for joining the stream. We're about to have a beautiful lunch, my friends.
We ran out of time.
Okay, no problem.
So I'll get in touch with you.
Okay, I will, definitely. Definitely.
Right.
See you.
Actually, Kyle, can I leave you with the stream for a minute?
Sure, no problem.
Interested in knowing what they're using like, for cleaning products in the schools and masks.
I'm just going to head to the front there, Josh. I'm going to head to the front there, buddy.
Okay.
I just unplugged your power.
We are interested, for sure. I don't know if now is the best time.
Yeah, you're right. I'm just asking.
No, we definitely want to know. Absolutely, that would be important info. All right.
I'm going to head up front there. Okay. Yeah, go for it, Kyle.
Okay, sorry guys, I just got to get you on my selfie stick here. Just take me just a moment. Thank you, Kyle.
Yeah, my pleasure, buddy.
All right.
This would be a good lunch today.
Yeah, totally. I think that's David's.
Is this David's?
Yes. We'll put it here.
Okay, everybody, we'll just gather in the center here. We'll begin to move once everyone's ready.
She needs to go into the washroom, so I don't know which direction you guys are going, so we want to meet up with you guys again, because we're probably going to get left behind. You know what direction?
I honestly don't. Kyle knows he has an idea. I think we're going to end up going probably down 109th Street towards 104th Ave is my guess.
Okay.
And then we'll probably go down 104th Ave and probably just kind of do a big loop. Do you follow the Angry Albertan on Facebook?
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. Well, I usually through Brenda, so you don't necessarily see me, but
Oh, okay.
Brenda always does.
Okay. I recognize the name.
Yeah.
You can always tune into the live stream.
Okay, and we can catch
and then
it
you
out
can you can see where we are.
Perfect.
So go to the
That's
Angry
a great
Albertan
idea.
page and you can catch it.
I thought of something a little bit late, and I don't know if anybody's asked that question, but we should, every one of these things. Okay, we should ask, okay, where's the CBC? We pay for you out of our tax dollars. So where
Right.
are you reporting on the news? Where's CTV? Where's
Right.
Global News?
But they've shown up several times. They've
Have
never
they?
aired any of
They
it.
never aired any of it.
No.
Yeah,
No,
really.
they've done interviews the whole 9 yards.
Oh, yeah, but they never
It never
aired
goes
it.
up. The only protest, lockdown protest they aired was the one on April 29th. They've shown up to about 4 of them,
Yeah.
and nothing gets out.
Well, I noticed they.
It's a black hole.
Well, I noticed they buried every big protest. Like United We Row went to Ottawa.
Right,
It was
nothing.
almost as if nothing happened.
Yeah, and then they reported as a few hundred protesters when they get to Ottawa.
Exactly,
Oh yeah.
And then,
Huh?
What's up, guys?
You want to stream for a minute?
Yeah, sure.
oh, I know.
Let me get organized here.
Go that way, okay?
Thanks.
We just follow along.
What's up, everybody? We're out here. I was gonna go home, but I just got roped into doing the live stream now. But I don't know.
Oh, it's in my pocket.
How did you guys like the speeches and everything? What's up, dude?
No, not much.
Have you guys met Kyle? This is the brains behind the operation here.
No, only one of them.
So-
Only one of them. I don't even know if I have brains. All heart, baby.
I'll give you the more. You're the most handsome aviator guy out here. How's that? I'll give you that accolade. Yeah, I'll give you that accolade.
All right, buddy.
All right,
Right on, Josh.
let's march.
Pleasure to see you.
You're not marching?
No, I'm gonna.
You're not going to tick off the more sensitive members of our group.
Oh yeah, right. Because yeah,
With
it
your
went
violent
went
speech?
so well last time. Yeah, speech is not violence. Your speech is okay. All right. Yeah, where is that one?
Nice to finally meet you. I messaged you last night about asking if there was a protest today.
Oh, okay. Which one are you? What's your name?
Connor.
Connor. Awesome. Well,
I
nice
got
to have you
Save the
here.
Children thing. Nice to meet you.
Likewise. Thanks for coming.
Yeah, no, it's nice to be around people that actually, fucking like hugs and handshakes again. So
Yeah, it is nice. It's really nice.
There's a one sheriff here. That gentleman over there.
They're always here.
I know that one specifically. I talked to him. I was doing a Save the Children rally one time. He comes up. I was like, hey, how's it going? I talked to him. He's like, do you do handshakes? He's like, oh, this fire's fucking fake. Yeah, I do handshakes. Best sheriff to have around.
Mr. Schaefer, thank you so much for your speech.
Thank you.
It was excellent.
Thanks a lot. When are you gonna? Can you send it to me in a file online, or how am I gonna be able to see it?
You can watch it on the Angry Albertan page on Facebook.
Okay, it's on right now.
Yep, it'll be. It'll be. You won't be able to rewind the stream until it's over. So when we're done the march, you'll be able to watch it.
Okay, good. You got quite a few followers on there now.
Yeah. Well, last week the stream got up to 330 live viewers.
I got a couple. I love your speech. I'm going to show the pamphlets to my boss, and the speech was informative. I got a few facts to use.
I think we didn't quite get the audio perfectly sorted, and unfortunately, you were the test case on the audio.
It's all good.
So
It's all good.
we got it straightened out after.
How did it? It sounded okay from my perspective. Did everyone hear?
It was feeding back a little bit, but I managed to fix it
okay,
for the
good.
second person.
Good.
But
Could people
new
hear what I
system.
was saying? Yeah.
Oh yeah, we could hear you.
Good. Okay.
So, and if you do it again, it'll be even better next time. So
Yeah, the wind has a factor as well.
Yeah, we got to get one of them little clown noses.
Yeah.
We can do that next time, though.
So on the Angry Albertan. Okay.
Yeah, the Angry Albertan Facebook page.
Okay. Does everyone else know that? Find it to watch it online there, like everyone.
I would hope
Did you guys
so.
announce it?
Although there's, I don't want to be accused of pushing my own page on this all the time.
Well, are you guys going to release it anywhere else? Can I share it?
Absolutely, share it everywhere.
Okay, cool.
And I could probably even cut your speech out and send it to you.
Yeah, if you could cut mine for me, that would be great.
We can do that.
Because then I'd like to do a little edit as well.
And we can do it on a live stream, which would look super pro, and we'll have no audio issues if you want to Skype in, and we'll record it that way. Because I think that would be super cool.
Okay. Yeah, I'll see what I can do, see how the schedule looks and stuff like that. But I definitely want to see what we got so far.
Awesome.
Okay, thanks, Josh.
Thank you. Nice to see you.
Good seeing you too.
Now. Oh. Okay. Sorry for the delay, folks. There's a lot to organize. I didn't even do my speech today. We had so many people that wanted to to have their say, and I think that is awesome. That's kind of what I've wanted throughout this entire thing, was to provide people with a platform to share their stories and their suffering and the suffering of their families and loved ones. And finally, that's what we had today. A lot of people were complaining the speeches were too long, and you know what? Speeches are always too long. But hey, mine was really short today. I didn't even give it. So, hey. Someone's looking out for you. I tried. But that was just excellent today. That Mary lady who was talking about her father there, she gave the whole audience COVID symptoms. My nose was running. I had the sniffles, you know. So, but that's what people need to hear these days, is the real COVID-19 story. You know, we all think we're suffering, you know. I mean, our businesses have been closed, we've lost money, people are losing their homes. But there's people that are actually dying because they've been abandoned by their friends and families. And that's completely unacceptable. And that's why we're out here, you know. There's all sorts of obvious damage, but there's people that are being hurt behind the scenes, you know, behind the walls of a care home that, you know, nobody sees. Their families have been ordered to stay away. You know, if you think you're saving grandma by not visiting her, you get another thing coming. What a horrible way to die of loneliness. I'd take my chances with COVID, personally. Hello. Oh, well, hey, yeah, if you are getting your information from the news, they got a way of wording it, but it's you know, as David Dickson was saying, everything that proves that this has been a criminal activity it's all out in public. You want the real news, just go to alberta.ca and click on the COVID tab. You click on that tab, you get all the real information right there, straight from the horse's mouth. I mean, when Dina Hinshaw says that asymptomatic people don't spread the disease, I mean, that's coming straight from the horse's mouth. Dr. Fauci said asymptomatic people don't spread the disease. So why did we test every staff member in every school before school started? Makes no sense. You know, at least they've discontinued the asymptomatic testing now, but we're still testing tens of thousands of people. And the positivity rate of those tests is very, very, very low. Your chances of dying from COVID are pretty much the same as you being killed in a car crash this year. Did you know that over 1 million people worldwide die from mosquito-borne illnesses? So, I mean, you should be as afraid of COVID as you are of mosquitoes. That's the truth. COVID is no more frightening than mosquitoes. So we're just coming up on the marchers here. If any of you watching haven't shared this yet, please do so. Last time we started the march, we got this stream up to 350 live viewers, which was just amazing. So if you've got some good groups to share this in, please do it. That would be awesome. Now there's a beautiful car. What a beautiful car. Oh, boy, we just about had a rebellion on our hands. Oh, people got really upset that the speeches went too long. And it's like, we were actually done the speeches earlier this week than we were last week. So, you just can't please everybody.
Can't win. Just can't win.
I thought the speeches today were pretty darn good. A couple of them could have been shorter.
But very emotional.
No new normal. No new normal. I end up all over the line. That was sure nice to have some other people take the microphone today.
Yeah.
Oh, please don't throw rocks at us today. I don't like this. Frankly, not a big fan of the rocks. Oh, it just scares, man. Somebody gets hit in the head, it just scares me.
That's fear.
Yeah, it is.
Your fear.
Yeah, I'm not too worried about me. It's just we got kids and.
I know, but still, you gotta shift your thinking.
We asked the Edmonton Police Service to march with us today. They refused.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me.
Well, no, but I mean just to escort us, right?
Oh.
You know, like send out a couple of bike cops and at least follow along.
No.
You know, because it would keep us out of trouble, keep other people out of trouble. I mean, you look at I watched all the footage from the Black Lives Matter rally. I mean, the police were everywhere they went. You know.
Well, but yeah, you know why, right?
Well, but the funny thing is the police get called on us probably at over half of these marches.
They what?
The police get called out on us for probably over half of these marches.
What do you mean get called out?
Well, like the farmers market calls them in every time we walk past.
Oh, yeah. That's just silly.
No new normal. Oh, I am totally out of it.
I'm saying that because my name is Norman. I say normal. It doesn't. I don't like it.
So, 71 is different. So people
Good job on your interview.
Thank you. That was fun last night. You talking about last night's one?
Yeah, I was watching. I've just been watching since you started doing your YouTubing and whatever. I guess.
Right.
Well, I'm interested. I like watching.
Awesome. Yeah, it's especially when I have a good guest on. It's a lot of fun.
Boy, it is. David's pretty good there. He did a good speech.
Oh, he was excellent. It was so easy, and he likes to talk. So I just pretty much turned the camera on, let her go, and sit back and enjoy the ride.
I think you remember the numbers for stats.
Oh yeah. He's a brain. He's a total brain. No new normal. 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 Honks of support, gotta love it.
Oh,
even the tasty ones?
That's enough
No new normal.
I just rented this new hall. I didn't know what they were doing with it. I just trusted this good.
This guy at the restaurant doesn't like him. I don't know how this guy's business is running with COVID. It just, the overhead right here is insane.
Close your business.
Insane.
Close your business.
Man, how long can your business survive like this, man? So sad to see this. Beautiful day, that patio's totally empty. But you got another month left?
Not your money.
Or maybe there'll be a government bailout for you.
Right on. You're bleeding money. You can't lie. You lie every day.
Hi. Huh?
Woo! Thanks for not wearing a mask.
Looking good. That's what a march is, my friend. Hello. Everybody's coming on their patios.
That's what we can do.
Yeah. Well, you know, if they wanted to use the elevator in these buildings, they'd have to put their mask on, right?
Face the wall.
Another empty patio. I don't know.
We're not open yet.
I don't know. Well, yeah, well, you'd think you should be on a weekend. I mean, I find it so bizarre. You talk to the employees at these pubs that have patios that are empty, and they all hate us. You know, and it's like, we're out here to end this so that you can get back to business. You know, like, how long will these businesses survive with no patrons? It's insane. Like, the mind control is just absolutely, totally drilled into these people's brains. How can you be happy with this when your business is failing right before your very own eyes? This is insane. You know. It's crazy how angry people get at just us out marching here. Like,
How's business? She's like, great. Really? It's like it's a Saturday and it's completely empty patio. It's 3:30. You should be open.
Should be packed.
You should be open.
Should be packed.
And you milk the market for every dollar it has. Now you're.
And I'd like to think that COVID cured Canadian alcoholism, but now they're all just drinking at home. You don't even get to have fun with your friends at the pub. You know, like, you know, at least you could relax. At least it was therapeutic. Now with you just drinking at home all the time, there's no benefit to that. You know, costs you a bunch of money. No new normal. No new normal. No new normal. No new normal. No new normal.
How do you even talk to that?
Yeah, I think it's just they got the earth plugged. I take a plastic bag and put that in the shower.
But it's a choice. I guess it's nice that they can have that choice.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you all for watching this stream.
Someone to be able to
If you can, give it a share. Give it a whole bunch of shares. Share it to every page, every group you follow. Put it on your personal pages. I know the march is boring, but there were some excellent speeches at the beginning, and if you share this live stream, you know, your friends and family may see those speeches at the beginning and they may come to their senses. This whole thing could be settled with common sense.
100%.
All we had to do was wash our hands and stay home if you're sick. That would have been the end of this right there. You know, if you're sick, stay home. That's as far as any of this needed to go. And that's all we've ever done in the past. You know, there's no justification for what this government has done to its own people. This is going to kill people. It's going to kill thousands of people, if not tens of thousands of people. Unemployed people are 3 times more likely to commit suicide. So, you know, all you people that say, if it saves one life, well, it ain't going to save one life. It's going to kill tens of thousands of people via suicides and drug overdoses. Unemployed people are more likely to die of a drug overdose. Unemployed people need more medical care than employed people. So don't tell me you're trying to ease the burden on the healthcare system, because that's exactly the opposite of what's going to happen. In Alberta's ICUs today, there are 7 people in the ICUs across Alberta out of over 700 beds. You do the math on that. You do the math. 7 people in ICU beds in Alberta for COVID out of 700 beds. You know, there's no need to even flatten the curve right now. They're reporting, you know, hundreds of cases a day. Well, none of these people are actually sick. They're not in the hospital. The total number of people in the hospital right now for COVID within Alberta is 44 people. We have over 2,500 hospital beds. We're using 44 of those beds for COVID. So they're going to let your grandparents rot in a care home in solitary confinement. And there's only 44 people in the province in hospital for COVID. I mean, I'm not a math wizard, but this math doesn't jive. I can't believe people have even fallen for this. Yeah. Well, and you know what? The businesses that my business was never ordered to close. If you had a hair salon or a nail salon, you actually got notified by the government that you had to close. They, you actually got notification. The rest of you that did not receive a personalized notice to close had no business closing. You know? I'm the only person in my trade that stayed open through the entire pandemic. All of my competition closed, and they all got on the CERB, which they fraudulently applied for. The CERB very clearly stated that if you quit working voluntarily, you do not qualify for a $12,000 vacation courtesy of the Canadian taxpayer. You know, so how did all these dishonest fraudsters take a vacation on my dime, and yet I'm the guy that gets hated? You know, so many people hate us for being out here, and it's like, hey, look at your neighbor that illegally collected the CERB. Why don't you go hate on that guy? Hundreds of thousands of Canadians illegally collected the CERB. That's a $12,000 vacation that you paid for. Did it save any lives? Sure as hell didn't. Nice to see you, Vance. No new normal. No new normal. No new normal. So funny that we actually have a few people that just follow the march in their vehicles and circle around and honk as their way of supporting us. They follow around in their cars. I know there's one lady that has mobility issues, and so she follows this march in her vehicle and honks, and she's got signs in the window and everything else. I love the passion of some of these people that come out to these protests. It is amazing to be around this many normal people. And I'm talking the old normal. This new normal sucks. I want a refund. I want my $12,000 CERB vacation. Where's my vacation? I think anybody who didn't collect the CERB should get a $12,000 all expenses paid vacation somewhere. You know? Yeah. Hey, Trudeau. I want an all expenses paid vacation. It's only fair. I mean, we're going to be all communists now. Shouldn't we, shouldn't there be some kind of equity here? Where's my $12,000 vacation? Ah, there's the Ice District with their NHL bubble. Millions of tax dollars spent so that NHL players could have gourmet food and have their own exclusive little area. You know, they can cross the border. They, you know, how can they play NHL hockey and spit on the ice and body check each other and, you know, do all the things that you do in a game of hockey, and yet you are not allowed to shake hands with your neighbor? You're still not allowed to shake hands with your neighbor. That's a $1,250 fine. You can't sing in church. You know, technically most of these people aren't social distancing. There's probably $100,000 fines, worth of fines they could hand out right here and now. And you know the crazy thing about this is there has not been a single case of COVID in any anti-lockdown protesters across the entire continent.
It seems to be a very socially conscious virus.
It's amazing. It only affects people at family barbecues and churches and care homes. If you'll notice, funerals are a big spreader event. I guess people are like hugging the dead. I don't know what's going on. You know, but I've never, you know, if you want a safe religion, go convert to Islam, because I have yet to hear of a single case of COVID that was spread in a mosque. It hasn't happened. So mosques are completely safe. It's only Christian churches where COVID is spread. You know, so I mean, maybe the Islamic folks are onto something here. You know, I guess whatever, you know, whoever they worship, maybe he's more powerful or something. I'm not exactly sure what's going on there, but it seems kind of fishy. And you know what? If there had been so much as a single case of COVID reported in an anti-lockdown protester, that would have been front page news the world over. There have been hundreds of thousands of people hitting the streets. Hundreds of thousands. In Montreal has had protests of over 50,000. Vancouver has had some big ones. You go to Europe, some of these European cities, Germany, it's estimated had like 4 million people out at a protest maybe a month ago. You know, Ireland's been having huge protests. The UK has been having huge protests. You know, so there's huge protests all over the world. We have yet to hear of a single case of COVID being spread at an anti-lockdown protest. Somebody explain this to me. Oh, wait, I can probably explain it myself. The people that are here today would be the first ones to stay home if they were sick. So I'm surrounded by conscientious people that stay home if they're sick. That's all it takes. If people would have just stayed home when they were sick, we wouldn't need any restrictions at all. This whole thing could have been voluntary. You know, the people I'm marching with here, they wash their hands once in a while. You know, and there's a lot of parents and grandparents here, and you know what? They're not going to work if they're sick. They're not sending their kids to school if they're sick. That's right, once you hand your rights over, it takes usually a lot of bloodshed to get those rights back. I hope we don't have to go that far. You know, so many people, as David Dickson has mentioned, are waiting for the revolution. You know, you got all these preppers, they got all the guns put away, they got the food stored, and it's like, why are you waiting for the collapse? You know, get off your butts now. Stand up for your rights now. You don't want to be using all your prepper stuff. You think you're actually going to survive the apocalypse? You know, why would you even want to survive? You know, if this is going to turn into a communist rat hole country, why do you even want to survive? Epiphany, where are you today? You're not allowed to be commenting on this. You're supposed to be marching with us. You're not allowed to have a life. Oh, that's okay. I wrote a speech today. I didn't even deliver it. Supporters, gotta love it. Make hugging great again. Yeah, you come down to these protests, you might actually get a hug. It happens around here. You might even get a hug from a complete stranger. Wow, what a foreign concept, eh? You know, so many people haven't shaken hands or haven't gotten a hug in 7 months now. And you know what? The people watching this video might be okay with that, but what about your grandma in a care home? Hasn't gotten a hug in 7 months. All the staff around her are wearing goggles and masks and gowns. Looks like they're on an alien planet. What a great way to spend your last days with dementia. This is insane what we're doing, people. This is the opposite of compassion. Man, if Jesus came back today, he would slap Canadian people upside the head and chase them around with a bullwhip. Especially the churches. You know, is there a single Christian pastor in this crowd today? What the heck happened to Christianity? You know, pastors should be out here. Pastors should be organizing their own marches. You know what? If there's a pastor listening to this live stream, you should come down to the legislature and have a worship service. You know, the legislature is the most free space in Alberta right now. You can do anything you used to do before the pandemic. You can do it at the legislature. Why? Because we kicked Kenny's butt. He told his sheriffs back in May to arrest some protesters and hand out some tickets. We know he did. I know through my back channels that Kenny ordered those arrests. And you know what? We made that arrest video go viral. Hundreds of thousands of views. International headlines. And Kenny put his tail between his legs and threw his sheriffs underneath the bus. You know, it doesn't take much pressure to get these fraud artists back where they belong. You know, if people would just put in a little bit of effort, we could have this gone right away. Yes! No! No! Normal! No new normal! No new normal!
Okay, so I'm sure you a video about
We got sleepers.
All I said is
Thank you! Listen to those horns, people. There are still some normal people left in this godforsaken city. You know, Edmontonians, we all know this is an NDP city. But the only reason it's an NDP city is because you folks watching this stream have been sitting there silently. Quit letting these people completely dominate the conversation. I'm tired of people being nice all the time. This cult of being nice, you know, Canadian culture, is destroying the very thing we think we're protecting. You know, nice is just, it's not worth it. You know what's better than nice? Kindness. You know, nice is just a platitude. Being nice is empty. Anybody could be nice. I bet even Hitler was nice once in a while. But not everybody can be kind. And you know what? Being kind means speaking the truth. You know, if somebody has a problem and you help point it out and bring attention to it in the hopes that it makes them a better person, that's kindness. You know? Say what?
May I offer a quote?
Yeah.
It's never just the evil people that are able to get away with it. It's those who stay silent and watch it happen that let it happen.
No kidding.
If you stay silent, they're going to take everything. If you think the government's going to give you your power back after this, you're mistaken.
Nope. The only way to get it back is to take it back, and it ain't going to be pretty. Exactly. And it might take several generations before Canadians get angry enough to do it.
1776. People fled with the idea that they could rule themselves. They did it, and they fought hard. They didn't get their freedom, they fought for it. And we're going to be in the same situation if people don't start speaking out.
Amen, brother. Yeah. You were given a democracy. Can you keep it? Do you deserve democracy? Do you deserve liberty? What have you done? What have you done to deserve your liberty? You know, at least we're out here. You know, it ain't much, but it's something. When you look at your children and your grandchildren, are you going to be able to say you tried? You know, when this life is over and you meet your Creator, are you going to be able to explain your laziness away? Not up for grabs. There is no debate. Our rights are not up for grabs. There is no debate. Our rights are not up for grabs. There is no debate. Our rights are not up for grabs. There is no debate. Our rights are not up for grabs. There is no debate. Our rights are not up for grabs. There is no debate. Our rights are not up for grabs. There is no debate. Our rights are not up for grabs. There is no debate. It's always awkward when you're the last guy cheering.
I know you're just trying to keep it going. That's all.
We had good rhythm there, though.
Oh, yeah.
We sounded like serious. Hello. Was that your whistle? Oh, I was like, wow. No new normal. No new normal. No new normal. No new normal. No new normal.
Do you love your rights?
Yes.
Do you love your freedoms?
Yes, we do.
Do you love all Canadians?
Yep.
Do you love the people around the world?
Yes.
Do you stand for the people around the world?
Yes, sir.
Right now, millions of people are standing together globally. We all understand governmental corruption. We all understand there is abuse of power.
How you doing, bud?
I'm not happy.
You okay?
Not with the way I was treated. We didn't do anything wrong.
You
We didn't do anything wrong. We didn't. My face still hurts from getting knocked in the face with a riot shield.
With a wrench?
A riot shield. They brought machetes.
Oh my God. No, I did.
Me bull. The only reason I bullhorned them is because two seconds before we were trying to ask them what was going on. And they took their big, you know, their signs they have?
Yeah.
1/4 inch plywood with metal, took it and rocked me. We ran them out for a reason. I wasn't happy. My business completely. Oh yeah. So, anybody that says we were overly aggressive, I think we handled it pretty good. We were peaceful until they took swings at us. And even the residents of Red Deer said thank you because we found fire extinguishers after the fact. And they had, I think, a few explosives. We stopped them. So
Crazy.
it was crazy, and I don't know. But no, I've been laying low for a bit.
Well, you're famous.
Actually,
Again.
You don't know the amount of women that actually won. The silver lining came out though, but I got asked to move down to Red Deer, help them out. They wanted me to help them out, and Antifa actually. We got a roundtable discussion with 3 of their members, trying to work something out, and I got asked to actually help them because, you know, we don't want our beautiful province on fire. We've been screwed enough as it is, and we actually made it to a rally in the States because they said, like, this is how patriots deal with terrorist groups.
Wow.
So there was good that came out of it. I just didn't appreciate some of the comments from a few people, including our own movement.
Yeah, well, I admit when I saw the city news piece
I saw that. I was pretty pissed because nobody decided to ask me what really happened, and then the truth came out. And but the silver lining out of that all, but you know, getting pretty girls' numbers left and right was not a bad. So it was. We had fun down there too because we had a nice pig roast after the fact, but. When you run a terrorist organization, you're pretty happy. We handled it actually good. One of our members got charged because the cops saw him put his hands on his throat. But you know, what do you do when you sing kumbaya with people that are trying to beat you with fucking shields? Or do you fight back? And we weren't overly aggressive, but all our plan was just to run them from one end of the park to the other. And by the end of it, we were laughing at, and even the cops were laughing. But, you know, just wish people would not believe mainstream media.
Yeah, I guess, you know, it's, you know, running them from one end of the park to the other. I mean, to me, they have a right to be out there as much as we do, until it goes illegal.
It did go illegal. Our original plan was, and I'm going to say this for the record, we wanted to find out why they were doing what they were doing, and we were trying to reason with them.
Right.
And nobody gets that story, but we went down there, we were going to be peaceful, and Pat even said, if they don't cause any trouble, we don't cause any trouble.
Right.
We would like to reason with people.
Right.
And as soon as we went down there, they hit Pat in the chest.
Right.
They hit a bunch of us, and Pat said, "Okay, let's get them out of here," because they had weapons. And they had weapons before we showed up, and he even said, "Who shows up to a peaceful protest with, you know, riot gear?" And
oh yeah, they were clearly expecting trouble.
they actually, we found out after the fact that we have screenshots. We were waiting for an investigation to be done from the police.
Right.
We were going to release everything that we found on the night. Even if we weren't there, they were planning on doing destruction. Like they did in the States, and remember what they did in Montreal? They took down the statue of
Right.
They were planning on destroying Red Deer. I'm honest to God, they were. And when you go after children, and when you go after elderly people, and when you're outside one of my best friend's places in Winoka, stalking his 18-year-old daughter, that shows that you have every intent of causing a community harm. We stopped it. That's all we did. So if that makes us labeled as bad people, we'll take it. But I had an interview with the Red Deer advocate, and I actually said, it doesn't matter what color we are. Every life matters, and we all bleed red. And I made sure that was on the news. So, and you can hear me screaming in the megaphone too, and saying, you guys aren't racist. You guys don't speak for Albertans, and we're tired of this.
Right. Well, no, I agree with you there.
I don't care what color you are. If you're a bad person, you're a bad person. If you're a good person, you're a good person. That's all.
I mean, has the thought crossed your mind that it was all a setup?
It wasn't.
But like, because to me it seems like, you know, that since they were prepared with their riot gear, that they sort of played you guys. You know, like they kind of set up the situation knowing it was good. Like they used you to get publicity.
Yeah.
Right?
But we don't know for sure, but we do know that they would have done harm to a community. Because you know how they are. And we're trying to get them, when Rachel Notley starts coming on and saying she supports the burning of buildings if it's Antifa.
Well, even Jason Kenney came out and said that. Well, actually, Jason Kenney was very diplomatic about it. He said basically the same thing I said.
Yeah.
You have the right to peacefully protest.
We do, and we were all for it. We actually said to them, we actually wanted to know what their cause was, but they actually were threatening to kill my chief there on the spot.
Right, and then they go and cry on the news.
Yeah, that's what they were doing, and I said, you know, shit has got to stop. I says, Alberta's been screwed enough, Canada's been screwed enough. I says, if we don't start standing up, and I'm not expecting everybody to go fight. I says, everybody has their goals to do things. I'm not saying that, but I says, there's got to be a fucking line in the sand where we just say, you know what, this is bullshit. You know, 6 months from now, who's going to have a job to go back to if we don't start nipping these problems in the bud?
Oh, no, I agree.
And I'm going to give a little piece of advice to everybody. The only way the second lockdown is going to happen is if you submit and say yes.
That goes for
Which one? Okay. Yeah. We'll keep it there. We don't want any problems. I'm just going to say it only happens when you submit.
It's free country. No! No! No!
See you.
What my live stream last night with David Dickson was something like the main demographic was women aged 55 to 65.
See? Like, what the hell is this?
Yeah, well, it's because the men were told to just go watch hockey or something.
You see that meme where it's showing men storming the beaches in Normandy, saying men back in 1944 or whatever, and then it shows men today. It's a guy hiding behind his couch with a mask on.
Oh, it's pathetic. My brother-in-law sends his girlfriend into the store with a mask on. He won't even wear it himself.
I got a story about that. I'm gonna shut up.
Yeah, I know. I probably should say it on a live stream, but
I don't know who's listening.
We are mostly moms, and we believe in our instincts.
Yeah.
Right? And we know since the beginning. I didn't believe one day about this. One day, I was like, something is not right.
No kidding. I agree.
And so yeah, the mother's instinct, you know, it's, or even the woman instinct.
And men rely on that in a lot of ways, but then the women need to rely on men to fight for them.
Absolutely. This is what I told my husband. And even my husband, he supports me 100%. I told
Where is he?
Well,
he's cooking stew for me when I come home.
I think the men have been neutered. I mean,
yes.
I remember hearing years and years ago that the levels of birth control hormones in the Great Lakes are actually lowering men's sperm counts, like the testosterone levels, the sperm counts. Like, you know, masculinity.
Stats and drugs.
Masculinity is being destroyed systemically.
Did you hear that there was a medical research paper that just came out? They said that stats and drugs could be used to fight against COVID-19 because then COVID-19 cannot bond to the cholesterol in your body, and every cell in your body has cholesterol.
Yes,
in it, right?
And your brain runs on it.
Exactly. And statins are known to lower testosterone because cholesterol is a precursor to all sex hormones. Right? So, they want to have them shrivel up and fall off.
Well, I think what the sperm counts have fallen by over 50% in the last couple of decades. I mean, if that continues, like, we'll all be test tube babies. I mean, like, and then hey, that just plays perfectly into that world population control because.
There's ads coming out now.
Yeah, those ads in Vancouver where it's like do the world a favor and only have one child. Yeah. You know, and then but.
In your face. It's so
But you know what? It's China.
You've got to be
It's
smart.
China. How many decades they have only like one child?
Well, they're the model of the New World Order.
Absolutely.
You know, I think China was allowed to develop because they agreed to these New World Order principles. You know, and so now they're showing us how it's going to be. You know.
But people don't realize that because of the China, yes, the China government is responsible, but who is behind paying the China government and leading the China government?
Oh, whoever's got the money.
Right?
Yeah.
Please, I'm like, haha, it's not only
Oh, well, and then you look at the World Bank, or no, it was the IMF offering bribe money to Eastern European countries to enforce, you know, crazy lockdown policies. I wonder how much money the Trudeau government got from the IMF to screw us all like he's done.
Whatever now, I'm not sure. Some people, they say it's enough when he steps down, not for me. I want to pay them the price, what they did to us.
Treason.
Absolutely.
Treason.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I want to see him. I want to see him have his day in court.
Yeah, and not only him, but everybody. And as well these people who
After due process.
Yes. and people, the anchors from the mainstream media, don't tell me that they are just employees. No, they are not just employees.
No, they're
They
CIA
know.
operatives.
And
I mean,
yes.
look at who's that guy with the short hair, Anderson Cooper.
Yes.
I mean, his mom was a CIA agent, and I mean, was it Mockingbird, Operation Mockingbird, where the CIA infiltrated all of the mainstream news organizations. You know, you think CBC's telling you the truth? No, they're bought and paid for and completely controlled by some foreign entity you've never even heard of before. Yeah, Tucker, man, he's been doing a heck of a job. And now Fox is owned by Disney. How long does Tucker have? I mean,
they banned his Facebook page.
Yeah, this is insane. You know, and I mean, I'm not a huge Fox News fan. I mean, but why are only certain opinions approved? You know, our ancestors fought and died so that we could have the freedom to speak our minds. And, you know, Facebook, and you know, it's not just Facebook, it's your everyday people. You know, even people in this group are so quick to self-censor other people in this group, and I find that insane. March complete.
Yes, sir. That was a good one.
Our March expert.
Yeah, I guess over the summer you learn how to do it, I guess.
Well, we're all still learning. That was great.
That was awesome.
That was a fantastic rally.
Josh, do you want to say something to the people? I can hold your streaming stick.
I don't think my speech is here. it's in the wife's stroller.
Oh yeah.
That's all right.
Great speeches today, though.
Oh, it was awesome.
Speakers, as usual. So
Man,
powerful.
Mary's message, she caused COVID symptoms throughout the entire crowd.
She did.
I mean, we should self-isolate for, what, 14 days now?
That's right.
I mean, like, yeah, I seriously was experiencing the sniffles.
That's right. Me too.
So true. And my mental state of mind totally changed. I believe that's also a symptom.
That's right.
So, yeah, totally crazy.
It is crazy, man.
But nice to have some real people. Like, you know, I'm actually really glad I didn't have to deliver a speech today. Because this is
your speeches, though, Josh.
well, this is exactly what I wanted, though. I wanted real people to, you know, put out real experiences. You know, it's one thing for me to talk about it in theory, but it's another person to get up and share what their parents are going through in a care home, or, you know, what they're seeing in the classroom, or what they're seeing in the hospital. And so this was awesome today.
It was awesome, and those people touched the nerve with so many of us. How many of us have elderly in nursing homes? How many of us? I know my wife, the only way they can visit their grandmother is through a window.
That's pathetic. For 7 months. Hey, could you imagine being that mother stuck in that home? 7 months, the staff won't come into your room if they don't have a reason. And they're not coming in to chit-chat. They're not coming in to give you a hug. They're just in and out, do their duty, get the hell out. They're gowned, masked, gloved, the whole 9 yards. It's like living on Mars for these people.
This is total dehumanization of people. This is total control. I know a lot of people can see it. Like I keep saying, around the world, people see it. In Canada, it's a little harder for us here because we've never experienced true tyranny. I know groups of people have. I feel for the First Nations people. Those people have felt what tyranny can feel like. They've, through the residential schools, through child abduction, all of the sad things that happen to them, you know, they've experienced this, but largely people don't know what it feels like. They don't know what it feels like to have a true tyranny over your head here. So it's a little hard for people to realize what's coming. But if you see it around the world, places like Germany, the UK, they understand what tyranny is. They've experienced it before, and that's why you see them in the millions. And I think, Josh, it's only a matter of time before honestly, before many people stand up. Guys, maybe people have to feel it first, but people will stand up.
I mean, I did write something. I wonder if I should just do it.
Do it, man.
Well, here, you hold the stream.
Do it. I got mine.
Yes. Okay. Perfect.
Hey, spread the COVID, my friend. How's it going, buddy? You got to, Josh. You have to. Freedom!
What is our society founded upon?
Freedom!
What did our ancestors die for?
Freedom!
That's why I'm here, and that's why I'm angry!
Woo!
I have watched the fine people of this province degenerate into spineless jellyfish for long enough. This is no longer the Alberta I grew up in. My crossed into phase 1 and phase 2 thanks to the hard work of these people. Woo! Phase 3. How dare they lock up seniors in solitary confinement? How dare they ignore the pandemic of suicides that they've created? It is scientific fact that unemployed people are 3 times more likely to commit suicide than those who are employed. People who are unemployed are also more likely to need health care. Most of the increased suicides are young males. Unemployment increases the chances of clinical depression by 3 times as well. Depression destroys families. Depression destroys marriages. Depression harms children. All of this for a pandemic that the vast majority of people have over a 99.5% chance of surviving.
That's right.
The vast majority of the deaths from COVID have been people over the age of 80 with multiple serious health conditions. In effect, this government has traded the lives and well-being of every single person to attempt to save people who already could not be saved. We cannot save people from old age. Of all the deaths attributed to COVID-19 within this province, only 8 of them were healthy people. The other 253 literally died of something else. British Columbia reports a tripling of overdose deaths since this fraud started. Is it any surprise that people turn to drugs when their lives are turned upside down by an incompetent and uncaring government? This government has ordered the people to break up their families, their social circles, their churches. Their businesses were destroyed. The people have been forced to become dependent on government. We are rapidly descending into communism. Becoming a failed communist state is next. What's the result? Increased drug addiction, increased alcohol consumption, increased depression, increased rates of suicides, increased divorce rates, increased health problems. Otherwise healthy seniors in care homes are now begging to be euthanized. This government is killing people with loneliness. Grandparents are being told they can't see their grandchildren by their own children to save grandma from COVID. All of this stress will certainly overload and bankrupt our healthcare system. We started out this whole atrocity under the guise of flattening the curve. And they are going to do it again because of the rising case numbers. Rising case numbers is nothing more than a scare tactic.
That's right, buddy.
We know the test is bogus. Even the Alberta Health Services' own website acknowledges that fact. Testing people with 0 symptoms is what is driving these bogus case numbers. Very few of these people are actually sick. Dr. Hinshaw and Dr. Fauci both agree and have stated publicly that people without symptoms have never been the driver of any pandemic ever. If you are not coughing, sneezing, or have a fever, the chances of you being contagious are next to 0. So why are people with 0 symptoms wearing masks? Not a single child under the age of 19 with all of Canada has died of COVID. Tyranny. So why are our children being forced to wear masks? The only people who should be wearing masks are those who are sick. Those who are sick should be at home. There is no justification for mask wearing. even be able to keep the heat and lights on in this province? Why has nobody been asking these questions? Where is the opposition, Rachel Notley? What are we waiting for? This whole fraud can be disassembled with nothing more than a fourth-grade arithmetic lesson and a good dose of common sense. Your government's behavior during this quote-unquote pandemic has been exponentially worse than the virus itself. I will not stand by in silence watching this atrocity unfold. I am making my stand here and now. Are you with me?
Yeah!
Will you take this province back?
Yes!
Stop the madness!
Stop the madness! Stop the madness! Stop the madness! Stop the madness!
There we go.
Yeah, buddy. Right on. Good. It's a good one. You got 20% left, brother.
Oh, we're running out of goat juice.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
I like that. Thank you. Oop, I think we lost our cord or something here. You want to just plug her in a little bit? Although I think we could probably just push that in a little. Oh. All right, good enough. I don't know. I can't tell on live. All right, Facebook audience. Thanks for tuning in. Share it around. Share it everywhere. And God, let's get this over with. Man, 10,000 people out here. We could have this done tomorrow. Cheers.